News Central now continues in south of the continent, where Malawi's Minister of Finance and Economic Reforms, Honorable Simplex Chintiola Banda, says the economy of Malawi is going through painful reforms following the huge debt inherited by the Chakwera administration. Chintiola Banda was speaking after he met with Nick Lee, the Deputy Economist of the United Kingdom Commonwealth and Development Office. Now, he assured that Malawi will do all it can to revive the economy. Nick Lee also acknowledged that Malawi has a huge responsibility to impact on the ailing economy. Now we have joining us Executive Dean of the School of Business and Economic Sciences at Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, Professor Betchani Tchereni, on the news for more on this. Good morning, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining me.
Good afternoon. My greetings to all the viewers.
All right, so can you share your thoughts on what Malawi's Minister of Finance and Economics, actually said about the economy going through painful reforms following the huge debt inherited by Chakwera administration?
Yes, look, it's not an easy ride. It's a very difficult time for the new Minister of Finance because indeed there are a number of areas which are indicating that the economy is really in quite a bad shape. We look at a number of things. For a predominantly importing country, we have seen that our foreign currency reserves, they are probably in their record lows, to some extent even below a month worth of foreign exchange being available. We have seen government expenditure being so high to the extent that the statutory expenses, they are taking up to the north of 70% of the budget. That means that the budget deficit is widening by the day. That widening of the budget deficit, it means that it needs to be financed via borrowing. And it is this borrowing which is coupled with the previous borrowing of the government, where now that borrowing, which happened some 5, 6, 10 years ago, is now maturing. That means that the current government, the government being a going concern, it doesn't matter who is in power, but government of Malawi continues. Those debts, they need to be paid. So government has to right now ensure that the debts which have actually matured, they are being paid, and also the debts which have been or are being incurred now, they also need to be taken care of. So you will see that the debt to GDP ratio, for example, it's hovering somewhere above 70%, which is very, very bad because we are supposed to hover at a maximum of 60% for it to be referred to as a sustainable debt. So this then is also happening at a time the economy has failed to generate more revenue for the revenue authority. So there hasn't been enough collection of revenue, as it were. So because of that, also it's difficult for the government to face or to meet the
all right, Betchani, now
expenses.
It seems when it comes to borrowing, a lot of African countries are actually going through the motion. Now, is it possible for Malawi to be able to use its natural resources to be able to improve its alien economy rather than depend on borrowing from international communities?
It's possible, but here's the challenge. It's very, very possible, and it can be done. It should be done. The natural resources are many. You talk about minerals, they are there. Forests, they are there also. Water, alluvial, nice fertile soils are here. To the extent that we should not be hungry. But I think it's about the intent. That's where we are failing to do it. If you talk about growing our own food to the extent that we should not be hungry, it's because we are still depending on subsistence agriculture. Now, subsistence agriculture, you can't really get enough for you to say that you can feed the whole nation. We are not exporting enough. Also, that's the problem. If we export just a little. That would be raw tobacco, raw sugar, sometimes tea, and maybe some coffee, which is very, very little. Our import bill is somewhere around $4 billion per year, but we are able to get just about $1 billion, which means that there are double deficits which the government must deal with there. The budget deficit and also the current, or indeed the trade balance deficit. We have to deal with that as well. So that's where the problem is. So the government must really need to work very, very fast in terms of making sure that investors are in here and they are able to mine a lot of ores that are in the soil. And also, not only investors, but government itself should spend big in terms of mega farms, commercial agriculture, which is enshrined in the Malawi Vision 2063. So it's not necessarily something which is alien or strange. It's something which is there, indeed, that government can do it. And also, apart from that, that time has come when import substitution should not be looked at as a trade policy of the old. It is a trade policy of necessity. I mean, certain commodities that the country has been importing should not be imported. Toothpicks, I mean, things that you use for makeups and other things. Those are things that we can make within the country, clothing lines and many other things. We can make them within the country and save the foreign exchange as well. And the new Minister of Finance has talked to that. You must also remember that as we are doing
sadly,
this,
we'll have to wrap up here, but we do hope that the government finds creative ways to use its natural resources to be able to revive the economy. Thank you so much for joining me on the news this afternoon.
Thank you, much appreciated. Thank you.